right, welcome to the coffee break. This is the episode number 70. I'm getting confused about this now. 76 of the coffee break. Yeah, we've been a long way. Thank you for joining today. As usual, this is a very open space for any topics or questions that we have or projects that we are working on. And again, as usual, let me start with you. If you have any questions or projects that you are working on, and just know as usual, open your microphone or raise your hands, and let's see what we're working on. Anything interesting going on this week? At Autodesk, we're very excited about the DevCons that are coming in September. Now we are just 2 months away. Just 2 months away, so it's getting very, very close. Registration is open for San Francisco and Munich. It'll be very good to see most of you. We haven't had a DevCon in a few years now, and yeah, hope to see you there. And yeah, lots of preparation going on for it, and many of the Autodesk team will be there as well. But yeah, let me save time for you. Questions or topics? Anything interesting going on?
Hello.
Hi, Moses.
I'm going into a project that's pretty simple. I'm just getting into it. It's still at the very conceptual steps, and it's very simply taking the finding the ACC or BIM 360 path of a file, and we want to put that path into the shared parameter of the project. The reason that we want to do that is we were acquired by a much larger firm, and now we have to sort out where files originated, which hub they originated on as we do our QA/QC audits. And so that's the current idea that we have. If we could grab the path and say, oh, I know what hub you come from, I'm going to apply a certain mapping configuration or an audit configuration, let's call it that. So I think this is a relatively simple goal, just to take the path, which would be a string, and place it in one of the project information parameters of the Revit file using design automation. Pretty straightforward, no?
I'm curious, right? So you are saying that you have a hub, you have several hubs with projects, and are you downloading that somewhere, and then you want to keep the reference?
When you say downloading, no, we're not downloading them. The idea was to use design automation on the files in the cloud. And then what we have is we have another software that actually performs the audit. It will check the project parameters and apply different audit configuration. So maybe if a project belongs to a certain building type, we want to audit it one way, versus if it's a different building type, let's say schools, we want to audit it differently. And so we want to be able to see this information as a trigger for performing a certain type of audit. It was relatively simple when we were primarily doing one building type, but now we'll have different building types underneath the same umbrella and coming from different hubs.
Okay, I see. Interesting. But the models are still on the cloud, right? You're not copying them somewhere.
No, not for this process. No, I hope that we don't have to.
Okay, makes sense. Yeah, I mean, if the models are on the cloud, right, and you are opening them, you know where they are coming from, right? And that's the part that I'm curious. Why don't you know where they are coming from?
We know where they're coming from. Yes, the system that we use to audit is automated, that needs to know where the models are coming from when it does the audit. That system actually works when a user opens the Revit file. It works in the background.
Oh, okay, okay.
So the user won't be aware of it actually working. It works in the background, and so there won't be anyone there to stop and say, "Hey, let's put this information into the project parameters."
Okay, so it runs when you open the file, not when you check in the file, right?
Right. It runs when
Okay.
the user opens the file, and we want that piece of information to be present before that audit runs.
Okay, makes sense. So when you open a cloud model from Docs in Revit, right? That model is coming from Docs, from Autodesk Docs, comes with the path to that file in the cloud, right? So that information is available in the Revit API locally. You don't need to extract that and send it somewhere, right? So the information is already there. I was quickly browsing here. Michael is asking, right? So when you open the file in Revit, manually or via API, right? You know where you are opening the file because you know the project, so you know where the file is coming from. But let's say the user is doing that and not you are selecting the file. You can call this get cloud model path. I believe that will give you the information you want. So that's the .NET API in Revit to read that information. Now, the part that is a bit, I'm curious, is why do you need to run the automation for that? Because if you are running Revit locally and the user is opening the file, right? You have Revit there, you have the module open, you can just get the information like this. And I just don't see the reason to create a shared parameter, because if you do, then you have two places to maintain that information, right? If the information is already available in Revit, you don't have to make a copy of that. So Revit knows that this model is available on the cloud, and we're just opening that. So take a look. Yeah. Okay. Sorry. Go ahead.
No, go ahead. I'll take a look at this. So let's see. Maybe I need to revisit the logic of what I'm trying to do. It was mostly that the audit program is a Revit plugin. It doesn't. So we're purchasing that. It doesn't see. We've asked them already. It doesn't see the path on its own. It has to be towed somewhat manually. That information has to be. It has to be told that manually, and the user won't be checking for it. And so the fallback was maybe to use design automation to pick up the local path or the cloud path and place it into the shared parameters in an automated way.
So my only concern there, and that's something that happens a lot with design automation, is that people trying to use the automation to open a model and add some information, right? That first, to do that, you have to open the whole model, add that tiny piece of information and save back, right? And so that's a bit expensive depending on what you're doing, right? You're creating a new version of the model, so there's a lot of things to think about there. And second is that if the information is already available somewhere, right? When you do that, you're creating a copy of that data, which can cause some problem. But I'm maybe something that we are missing here. Again, I think I mention it every time, right? But we have support and we have Calendly that you can book time with our team, and that's for everyone that is in here, right? So whenever you have the details of your specific case, we're happy to help. So just go to the the APS website and then go to the support, get help. Sometimes they say Forge, so you can email us. So to explain a specific case, if you have code or something like that, we can help. Usually when you have a code, it's better on email because you can read the code, you can try it and see what's happening. But if you want to discuss general ideas, you can book a time with our team. Just select technical support here. So Moses, whenever you know the plugin or you know someone that knows the plugin, we can all talk together. Just book a time that works for you and the person that knows the plugin, the strategy that you are acquiring or buying. I don't know. So and then we can discuss specifics there and learn the details. So those options are available. I mentioned that many times. But it's just that it's very powerful and it's free, right? You don't have to do anything to use this. Just send us a message or book a time.
Right. Yeah, that's a good point. It's an expensive process to do a relatively small task.
Yeah. And the part that worries me the most is creating a shared parameter with an information that is already there, that then you have two places to maintain the information, and eventually the one on a shared parameter will become outdated, right? Because of whatever reason, people just download the file and use that to start a new project, and at that point you are outdated.
Right, that's another risk.
Yeah.
Okay, we'll think about that.
Yeah.
Thank you very much.
Sure. Thanks for the question. I have a question for people here. Do you use Postman, Insomnia, anything like that?
I've used Postman before.
Postman.
Who said that?
Nice.
Alex. Oh, Alex. Yes, Postman. Okay. Anyone else using anything else other than Postman? I was curious.
No.
Because we are trying to be better supporting our Postman collections, and sometimes it gets a bit unclear if people are using that or not, or if they prefer something else. Do you have any opinions there? Do you like Postman, or would you like to have more Postman? I'm just curious.
Are there competitors? Well, I guess, yeah, they're competitive to Postman. I haven't taken the time to look at other options. It seems like Postman is mentioned a lot for what it does. So I wasn't aware of its competitors.
Okay. Yeah. Well, there are many ways for you to try REST APIs, and maybe I have to rephrase the topic, right? So, how do you try REST APIs on your end? How do you experiment with those APIs? Some people prefer to use curl commands on terminal. People, no, that's way too complicated, right? But some people prefer to write into the code. But no, if you just want to quickly try something, Postman, Insomnia, or something else. And I saw Michael saying Thunder client for VS Code. I haven't seen this one. Yeah, you always know the good stuff, Michael.
Yeah, I just threw it in there for fun. It's what I use.
Oh yeah. Oh no, you're just throwing on the fire to see what's happening.
Of course.
Now I'm curious. I want to see that one. I didn't know that.
You might like it. Be careful.
Oh no, yeah.
Someone had made a way to call APIs with Dynamo, and I found that kind of very relatable because I had used Dynamo so much, and I tended to start there because it was just so easy to start it up.
Yeah, Dynamo is also quite interesting, right? So how anyone else using Dynamo? Because there are many things that you can do with Dynamo, but do you have a pre-packaged library to call REST, or how do you do that?
Yeah, it was a package that someone had created to actually do some Forge related tasks, but I also used it to call the Bemtrack API And what else did I use it for? Primarily, it was designed for Forge. I also used it for BIMTrack, and you could call the API and download PDFs and do things like that. But it was kind of open-ended. I forget the name of the package, but it was very useful for what it did. And it just allows you to call data back into Dynamo to do other things with it.
Okay. Yeah. So if you'd have more Dynamo support with APS, what would you do? What would you look for? So for Dynamo nodes to support more APS, do you have any workflow in mind?
I think so many applications are web-based now, while Revit being primarily desktop-based. It became useful to call information from the web into your project and put it into, like, maybe you would put it into a family parameter, put it into the comments parameter. So it was useful for those reasons, to actually load up your families with different information. And so I think that's the value add for having it in Dynamo. But because I had already had some like the tokens set up in there, I kind of started to, I guess you could say I overused it, because I had the node set up to do the calls. So I just started using it for testing other things.
Okay. Interesting. Cool. All right. So let me get back to you open for other topics. I'm talking too much today. Had too much coffee.
I have a question. Just
Hi, Ricky.
Is there a way to say in design automation link in DWG files? I know you're able to link in Revit files, but I noticed there wasn't really an API for linking in other types of files.
Sorry, I think I missed the question. I lost you for a moment.
Oh, I was just asking, is there an API to link in DWG files from the cloud? Like, let's say
Linkage.
posting some DWG files on BIM 360, and you want to link them to Revit. I tried looking for the API for that and couldn't find it. I know it's part of the desktop connector, but there's no public API for that.
Okay, so you're trying to link DWG files in Revit?
Yeah, from the cloud.
I haven't seen this one, because you want Revit to point to a cloud model, right?
No, I'm not. I know there's APIs for pointing to cloud Revit models and talking about specifically other types of files like DWG that you would link in.
Okay, I don't know. I haven't tried this one. Is there anyone here that knows more about Revit API? Because I think that will be Revit specific. You're calling from Revit API to get some information, right?
I did look at the Revit API, and you are able to link local files, but I'm asking about files hosted on the cloud, which doesn't an API.
Yeah. Get it. Revit linked files API. It's such a long time that I haven't worked with Revit, so with Revit APIs, I have to remember.
I think that's kind of the functionality in that one connector, and it does some kind of virtual linkage so that when you actually load it up, it knows where the linked files come from. So I think that's functionality in that connector tool, but I'm not sure. So if there was an API,
connector tool,
the desktop connector Yeah, I did look into that, and yeah, it seems like that is the functionality. But the problem is that yeah, the user has to manually install the connector and then manually use the UI, do all that. I'm thinking of trying to do this in design automation.
Oh, okay. Because Michael is suggesting to do it locally and then use desktop connector to sync, right? But you want to automate that process with design automation. Did I get this right?
Yes.
I haven't seen this one before. I don't know. Probably have to dig more. I'm looking at the locally. Yeah. I don't know. Sorry, I would have to. Can you send us a message on the aps.help@autodesk.com? You can also, if you prefer, you can also post on Stack Overflow and tag it with Autodesk Revit and Autodesk Platform Services, because then we can help there. And I'm suggesting Stack Overflow because there's a chance someone else outside have solved this before as well, and sometimes they can provide some insight. We've witnessed before, right? So Stack Overflow and tag Autodesk Revit and Autodesk Platform Services or Design Automation. Then that will show up on our system anyway, either email or Stack Overflow. We see that the same way on our list of questions to answer. But no, the benefit of Stack Overflow is someone else helping. So please describe a bit better there. Describe what you said here and anything else that you have. And yeah, we can investigate. I don't know right now. I'll have to get someone like maybe Jeremy Tamek has some crazy ideas. He usually does.
All right.
I'm looking here. Yeah. I don't see that many options when I'm looking at the Revit API doc. Yeah, link files, there are not that many options there. Yeah. Yeah, thanks, Rick. Sorry, I don't have any answer right now. I can investigate. Cool, thank you. All right, any other topics or questions?
Okay, I will ask something about Postman. You mentioned, Gusto, that APS team prepares some examples in Postman. But my question is how to connect or how to translate that examples in libraries, because I'm using that Autodesk.Forge libraries for the backend in C#. And sometimes it's difficult to understand what is necessary to put to post in the Postman or how to implement that in that libraries.
Okay, yeah. So there's a lot there. No joke, actually. So we are working on having SDKs for you to help your work, right? So the SDKs that we have today are very outdated. They're not like up to date. So we are working on having a new version of those SDKs. There are no up to date with all the parameters, with all the options. In the process of creating those SDKs, we had to create what is called Open API spec, so you can auto-generate those SDKs, right? One of the interesting pieces about getting those two things working is that once we have the Open API spec, we can very easily convert that into Postman or Insonia and have it working in Insonia. So those things are really connected. Now, no guarantees yet. No, we're still working on it, almost there, but no, it still needs some time. So now with that said, once we have Postman is usually a very good way to try APIs. And that's why I was asking, right, how do you try the APIs without coding, without having to write code? So Postman is very good there because you can just specify the path, specify the parameters and call it, right? Insonia does the same thing. So it's very convenient for that. Now, after you experiment with Postman, you can go in and use that definition to auto-generate code. That's how I think you're doing. But then when you do code, you're coding, right? You're not experimenting anymore. You're actually writing your code. Now, so I think my question for you is, are you using Postman, or how do you test an API before writing code?
Generally, I'm using the Swagger because I'm starting from the template web API from Visual Studio, and I'm using that Swagger. It's very easy to use that post get and put directives. But after that, when I have to implement in code in the backend,
yeah,
I stopped. The last time I tried to increase the time for the signed source when I want to download it. There is expiration time. It is, I think, 60 minutes maximum. I'm not sure, but I couldn't implement it to the C#. After that, I put that in the help on APS. So I get the answer, but I don't want to ask so simple question and waste time on APS forum about that. Because of that, I'm asking how easy to convert something for the Postman into something to the C# in code. Like
yeah.
this.
Okay, makes sense. Makes sense. I'll just have a note there. Don't be shy asking questions. Any question is valid, right? So just post that on any forum. But again, we are working on it to have those things more available for you. It's almost there and almost ready. And we plan to have a beta very soon. So once we have it, I'm going to share here in on our blog, so you can start experimenting with that. So it should be interesting. Yeah, but thanks for the feedback, right? That this is something that we are missing for a long time, and it's important for developers to have a way to test and maybe auto-generate SDKs with other languages that we don't support. Let's say that you're using something that is very niche, different language, right? You can always use that as well.
Yes. Okay.
Cool, thank you. Yeah, Michael, right? Yeah, once you have Postman and you load that query there, you can see the code in C#, right? So that helps you get some code done. Yeah, that's true. Oh yeah. I'm using ChatGPT for many things that I don't want to research that much. A couple weeks back, I was trying to read a wiki page on Atlassian Confluence, right? And I said, okay, I know there is an API here because I saw the documentation. And then I said, okay, how can I read the document? And I was going to the documentation and reading all of those things. I said, wait, something is, I don't have to do that anymore. And I said, ChatGPT, write me a code to read a page. And it was pretty nice, almost there. I just have to do a fine tweak, but no, it saved me a lot of time. Yeah. All right, we are just getting on time. With that, let me share here again. Thank you very much for joining today. As usual, the next coffee break will be in 2 weeks from now, Wednesday, 8 a.m. Pacific, same link, same time, and on July 26th. Thank you very much for joining today, and see you in 2 weeks. Thank you.
Okay, see you.
Thank you.